so we can talk about boredom. That's one of my things that I...
Hey, we are live.
Oh, hello.
That was super quick.
Hang on. All right. Now I just have to take a second to turn all the things off that are making noises in the background. Hi. Say hello if you can see us. We like talking to people. Lainie and I are talking about our deschooling program that now starts next week. And what we're offering as part of that, what you get really, like why would you want to work with us? Why would you want to pay us money to hang out with you for like 5 weeks? And some of the things that why wouldn't you? Some of the things that we got out of our own deschooling. So hi Lainie. Lainie's in Mexico. I'm in England, for those of you who maybe are new to us and what we do.
Hey, Sarah.
Lainie is like such an inspiration to me. Well, what we decided we talk about is what we got out of our own deschooling and unlearning. And one of the big things I got is Lainie in my life. And I didn't really know Lainie very well. She runs a really big Facebook group called We Are World Schoolers. And I had attended a We Are World Schoolers Project World School Family Summit in 2019 in Spain with my family. And so I did meet her there, but not really any more than just to say hello. And then we kind of just connected last year. And Lainie asked me to work with her. And I said yes without even thinking about it. I had no idea what was in store for me. So one of the big things I've got from deschooling and unlearning is that you should say yes to stuff, even when you have no idea what they entail. And we can always learn. Doesn't matter how old we are.
I love it when you tell that story. And you know that I always respond with, I've got this intuitive knowing always, like, it's that trust, that intuitive knowing that we're on path. And I just knew that I needed to be connected to you. I adored you. Your energy was spot on. Your kids are amazing. And I was like, oh, I just need more time with this woman. I knew there was something there. So yeah, and we, over the past, I guess it's 1.5 years now, we've really developed, synchronicities and passion and vision and all of these things, but we never sat down to develop it. They just spilled out of us in such a way that, again, was so synchronistic that we never even talked about philosophy and how to define any of that stuff. We just have been on the same page. And that trusting and knowing that you were the one that I needed to be connected to was so spot on. So I am so grateful that you said yes and that you trusted yourself to do that. And I think that's a lot about what we're going to talk about when we are raising our children, like being able to tap into that space inside of us that knows what our truth is so that we can become in alignment with what is real for us. And a lot of times we have thoughts, and I talk about, I talk about the sovereignty of thought, like the deschooling the thoughts that are given to us through the indoctrination, that are given to us through the school system, that are given to us through our life experiences, sometimes are not congruent with the things that we know sit in our heart as truth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there is nowhere that is more true really than in the relationships that we have with our children, because when you follow a path that takes you out of the school system in particular, which is what we're talking about, you leap and you almost feel like there's like nothing there to catch you potentially. You are literally really living on instinct in that moment and trust. And what I found is that the deeper I go into that, trusting what's going to happen, having no idea what's going to happen, but trusting it anyway, and not trying to control outcomes, the more things line up, the more synchronicities just appear in front of us, the more magic you notice with your children. Kids do this really naturally. Like, that's the big distinction that I would see between adults who have spent longer being programmed, being in the schooled system and with a schooled mindset, even though we left school a really long time ago, right? We're still in that system. Our kids, even if they might have done some school, haven't been trained out of their instinct in the same way as we have. And so they're just like in magic all the time. Doesn't always look like magic. It can be quite messy. I've currently got makeup all over the sofa. There's like chunks of coconut oil in a glass of water. There's like lipsticks and paintbrushes. And this is just on the sofa. Peggy always puts a towel down though, which makes me laugh because the towel really doesn't protect from very much, but she makes the effort to go and get a towel and like quite carefully lays it out. But that's magic. That's magic. Even though as an adult with our logical brain, you might look at it and go, oh my God, it's such a mess. And what is she doing with all this stuff? And why does she need, you know, all of the lids off all of the lipsticks? And, you know, why is there foundation on the sofa? And the old me probably did used to look at that stuff and just feel that chaos. But that's part of her living in her magic. And
absolutely,
when you don't seek to control that, you don't seek to put like limits on what that looks like, they do just do it really, really naturally. And they have no attachment to, you know, we've talked about this a few times, getting a product at the end. There's no attachment to how something's going to be, which is why children's play often can look quite chaotic. It's not always lined up. To an adult, yeah, that's right. We, with our minds, where we like to have order, and I know that can be a personality thing, but a lot of it is also about the programming of the way things should be, that our children aren't necessarily like victim to yet.
I want to speak to this magic that you're talking about. Yes, magic from the perception of your eyes may look like mess, but if you hadn't gone through your own deschooling process and you actually gave into the triggered response of clean up this mess, this is chaos, I can't stand being around this. Like those were the messages I was raised with, and I heard that a lot. So that was my programming, and those were the things that I needed to deschool. But had you not done the work to do that, then you would have then added upon this magical moment of creation that your daughter was experiencing, and the freedom to express herself and dip her toes into all these different materials and see how they felt, tasted, looked, and what they did. Like that kind of magic discovery would have then been tarnished, and it could have in the future become a point of trauma for her that she needed to reprogram. So the accountability that we have as parents to really own our own shit and get out of the way and allow the magic to unfold the way that it unfolds, that's our work. That's our work. I have to tell you, I spoke with a parent yesterday, and the initial call was supposed to be about me working with their teen. But when it came down to it, the recognition and realization that this parent had was they needed the support, and that their daughter as an unschooling self-directed learner was doing just fine. And just because she was, in her room and focused on this or doing that, the parent's instinct to interfere and control what it looked like was what was coming up in the conversation. And thankfully, this beautiful parent was so open to discussing and exploring their part of the partnership in home education, and specifically her own deschooling. So I'm inviting anybody who is at that point, either you've made a decision to home educate, or you're thinking about it, this work is about us as parents as well as the work that our children are doing. It's powerful work to put attention to.
Yeah, and that speaks to the heart of what that the deschooling period is really all about. Like often when we talk about deschooling in the alternative education world, we're talking about, just for anyone who's new to this conversation, that it can be quite a distinct period of transition between school and whatever's going to come next, how you're going to end up vibing as a family. And people like to talk about having 1 or 2 months per year that a child has been at school. So they're usually talking about deschooling from the point of view of the child. And that's not wrong. It's just that actually, there's an invitation from Lainie and I to think about this more broadly, to think about deschooling as really being the start of your journey into unlearning. And man, that can go for like years. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be done ever, really, because part of that leads us into our own journey of transformation as adventurous unschooling parents who are also still learning. When I reflect on my school years, which were actually great, really, on the surface of it, and I think about finishing school and almost like, okay, I'm done learning now. I'm going to get on with the rest of my real life of being an adult. I'm going to go to university. I'm going to get a job. But actually, where my children have led me is to the realization that that doesn't have to be true. And outside of school, it's not true. Learning doesn't have to finish at like 18 and then you go, okay, tick, I've learnt now, I'm going to go be a grown-up. No, it's just all like living. It's a kind of a ridiculous idea, but that's what we're told, isn't it? And that those school years are like preparatory for being an adult. So it's like you're putting everything else on hold and then you get there. But that's not how kids naturally think. That's not how they naturally are. And so a big part of that deschooling process is an understanding, because it kind of unfolds gradually. Like I didn't just like wake up one day and go, this is how it was. This has just been a process over many years, really, that learning never stops. And so the unlearning also doesn't stop, because we've got a lot of years of it. That wasn't the original point I was going to make. I went off on a tangent. What I also wanted to just pick up on is, because I wrote a post about this morning about what happens when kids are engaged in their work, which is also their play. And that changes as they get older. Like my teenager, for example, doesn't like play in the same way as my 17-year-old, although my 7-year-old, although she might be playful sometimes. It doesn't look the same. And it can look a bit more like serious, but it's essentially just this gentle evolution in the way human beings naturally are when they go from a more kind of imaginative kind of play, putting stories together, dressing up, having characters, doing what my kids always like to call role plays. Peggy does it with one of her friends and she's like, oh, we're doing a role play. She just means imaginary play. They've just decided to call it role playing for some reason. And it's when they're pretending to be someone else. They've usually got American accents. It's very cute. And my 13-year-old's many years away from that. Like she's moved out of that a long time ago. And my boys are kind of somewhere in the middle, but it's serious. Whatever it is that they're engaged in, whether it's watching all of the movies that Meryl Streep has ever made. Was it Jodie Foster? Violet went through this like Jodie Foster period, watching every movie that Jodie Foster's ever made. And a lot of parents would look at that and go, what a waste of time. Why are you letting her do that? She should be doing something that looks more educational. But through those movies, through those hours and hours and hours of watching Jodie Foster movies, she then went off on different tangents. Of course, when you watch movies, it's a bit like reading books in that you delve into history, politics, sociology, geography, language, and then the actual mechanics of like screenwriting, filmmaking, which is what she's interested in that world. So for her, that's kind of like work. in the same way as my 11-year-old, who spends most of his day drawing Pokemon or Fakemon characters and
I love that.
games, yeah, and stories. And it's really serious. It's really serious work. And part of my deschooling as a mum, as a parent, learning that my job was really to sit back and facilitate and support when they needed me, but mainly just to sit back and enjoy watching when they invite you in, which they do when you don't have judgment about what they're doing. Yeah. But a child who feels judged about how they're spending their time and thus might feel ashamed of how they're spending their time is far less likely to invite you in. And it's so special and precious when they invite you into these conversations, or they show you what they're doing and they're really sharing their joy with you because they know that you're interested, because you don't have any negative judgments or thoughts about what they're choosing to spend their time on.
Yeah, it's so true. I don't know if you, I'm sure you know that for maybe 5-6 years ago, and then for 5-6 years before that, I ran a podcast on education, alternative education. It was called For the Love of Learning, Voices of the Alternative Education. Boy, that's a mouthful. But I did a show on unschooling and deschooling. And if I'm remembering correctly, it was Pam Laricchia that was one of my guests. And I would host these panels and people would share stories of their children growing up and what it looked like for them, unschooling and deschooling and natural learning and so forth. And the story, I believe it's Pam, the story that was told on my show, and I'll see if I can find the reference to the video, was about, she was talking about her daughter being obsessed with the American TV show Roseanne. And she was like, 12, 13, 14, and she just got obsessed with it. She watched every single episode. It was 7, 8 seasons. She did whatever she could to get access to these shows, and everything was about this particular show. And her mom was just watching it going, okay, I'm not sure why, but I support you. And this is really cool that you're really interested. And they would engage in conversations about family dynamics and middle America and culture and all that stuff. And then that phase was gone. But many years later, she went off to college, and at the university, she decided to study a degree, get her degree in media, not just literacy, but media, like comparison, cultural comparison. It was this very, really kind of very distinct, unique kind of degree, and she got her degree in this, and it was looking at culture through the lens of media and doing like comparison, analytical comparison. But because she had the freedom in her younger years to do this and wasn't made to feel bad about it, was supported, there was space for it, they had conversations about the things that she was learning, that much later, it did become an integral part of the things that she started to do in her professional life. And that to me is one of those stories that goes back to the very first thing that we were talking about. You and I have been able to say yes and trust the things that are coming up in our lives. And I think what the course is, the course that we're offering in I guess starting next week, is really about supporting parents and creating a space where they could step into their own power and tap into that source of trust and feel supported among other adults and parents that have gone through this process. And I think that is the value of the things that we're doing. We're bringing these things to the surface. We're creating a space to really support parents. And we are parents, we are those that have gone through it, that are still deschooling, but we've got the tools to be able to support you on your journey. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you.
That is a beautiful story. And it really highlights Well, a couple of things. Firstly, we can never know, and our kids may not know, but something draws them to the things that they're interested in. And of course, as grown-ups, often living in this kind of our logical brain, we often look for reasons why, or I wonder why they're doing that. And one of the things that's really common, particularly when people first have their kids out of school, is they look for signs of learning, not only like teachable moments, but look for signs that this is working. And so a child being obsessed with something, or like deeply passionate about something, I prefer to say, a parent will often see that and acknowledge it, but then look for signs then that make sense to the parent. Why are they doing that? Oh, maybe they're going to be this. Maybe they're doing all the Minecraft now because they're going to be a game designer. So yeah, I'm okay with them spending all their time playing Minecraft because maybe it's going to lead to this thing down here. So what you're suggesting is actually taking that deeper, and not as a parent having any future thought, because that's when we attach a gender to the thing, instead of just accepting it and enjoying it for however long it lasts. And that's when we can become controlling, when we're looking at it through. No, I'm actually talking on Facebook. I know, but like I'm talking to people. Is like, this live? Yeah. Yeah, but that's not
it's live. Hey.
Can I get you?
Violet's being a penis.
Okay, can you go and talk to Dad? That'd be amazing. Oh, good. Thanks. So now my children have said penis and dick live on Facebook. Excellent.
So have you.
So have I. Well, that's nothing. No, I don't specifically say those. They're probably the tamest things I've said on Facebook. Yeah, point is that story you shared is a beautiful example of a parent just sitting back and having no idea what's going to unfold. No, maybe nothing does, and just trusting that the child knows something. I mean, all they know is they're being pulled into something that they're passionate about. They don't even necessarily know. And these things can come and go. Like if I think about all of the things that my kids have been really passionate about over the years, it's unlikely that they're going to forge careers out of all of those things. And I've got no idea where they'll all fit or whether they will fit. But the point is that actually just sitting back and really giving them their own space to explore whatever it is that they want to explore. And it does happen in tandem, as you were just saying, and this is the benefit of taking on this work as a parent and doing this program with you, that we do that at the same time. So it's like we're doing our work that allows us to tap into this thing inside of us that connects us to our purpose, and that actually frees up space for us to trust our children at almost exactly the same time. Once again, it's kind of like magic.
I mean, that's really the key here.
Yeah, it is. I'm just going to see if anyone's watching or anyone's got any comments. My children are having a nice argument just outside the door. Hi, Alex. How you going? Thanks for watching. Yeah, that's my 11-year-old wearing the Pokemon shirt. So my 11-year-old is deeply into Pokemon at the moment. And not all children do this thing, but one of my children in particular does, where they have a really strong passion, and it lasts for quite a long time. And all of the learning comes from sinking into that particular passion.
Dad's not doing anything.
I wanted to.
I think I might have to sign off now.
It might be the perfect time to sign off. Yeah. I wanted to share
Your ankle hurts.
It's time to go, Sarah. All right, sweetie. We'll talk later.
Surrender.
Surrender. It's a thing.
Surrender to what is.
If there's any questions or anything, we'll be watching for the comments. Bye, sweetie. Talk to you soon.
See ya.